Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror and media, and today we're going to be discussing Hellraiser and Candyman. I'm Mitch.
I'm Mur.
And I'm Jonathan.
So, what is it about Hellraiser? What is it about? What is this movie about? What are some facts we got about this movie? It was Clive Barker's first directed film.
Yeah, he directed it and he wrote it.
It was 1987, and it established Pinhead as a monumental person in horror.
The movie begins with a box.
Well, so before we get into those, I was just going to list off a few things.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So the budget was $1 million, and the box office was $14.6 million.
Damn.
So it was very, very successful.
So they got paid.
They got that cash money.
Yep.
On
They got like
fucking
14
deck.
times their budget. So
Hell yeah.
it's like commercial success. Like they were like,
Yep.
yes, we made our money back.
Yep.
Which is probably why they went they let them do the sequels, do the fucking, I don't know, 10 of them. There's a huge film universe for Hellraiser, which I think is why it became so popular. But we're going to just be talking about the first film because we didn't watch all the rest of it. So
that's a
all
lot
the
of
knowledge
film.
is off of this and then some extras. But the overarching idea was that these Cenobites, which you see in the film, there's 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Do we know the names?
There's Chatterer.
Is that the one with the teeth?
Yes, he's called Chatterer.
The skin xenomorph.
The skin. There's a Pinhead. Who's the iconic role.
Yes.
The skin. Oh yeah, the skin xenomorph is Chatterer. You're right.
Yeah.
And you've got Deep Throat, who has like the yonic neck thing going on.
Yep.
And then you've got Butterball, the big fat one that licks his lips all the
Butterball
time.
looks like a character out of Matrix
yeah,
because
he
of
really
his
could be.
glasses. He's got like those circular black
He's
glasses.
like the typical Matrix fan that went to the con
Yes.
and didn't make his suit right.
Very accurate.
He kind of looks like a fish to me for some reason.
Yeah.
Patrick Star.
Yeah. Oh my
Just a
god.
fucked up fetish version of Patrick Star.
SpongeBob, I don't know what happened. I went into the box.
That's fucking amazing.
Oh shit.
Oh no! You took my only flesh. Now I'm gonna starve.
He has like his eyes sewn shut, right? Like
Yeah,
when he
but
puts
he
off
wears
his glasses.
fucking glasses.
It's like-
Yeah,
like
that's why he wears them.
goggle-like things.
What about his mouth? It's like he keeps doing that, like licking his lips thingy.
He licks at everyone.
It's
yeah.
creepy. It's creepy.
my
They're
God.
they're totally like inspired by industrial warehouse kids with BDSM and shit.
Oh, totally.
With like the boots and everything and
Well,
the
like
trench coats.
Hellraiser's like nipples are like torn off and
Yeah.
like folded over the leather on his outfit. So it's like really fucked up.
Yep.
So anyway, these Cenobites show up and their thing is to just torture people. And that's like sadomasochistic kind of idea of what they do. And if you unlock this puzzle box, which is what the main character, or not even the main character, but like one of the main characters, he does that at the beginning of the film. And
He
that's sort
buys
of how it
the,
gets introduced.
He buys the, I don't know, just box.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
they don't really
they're probably-
say anything besides
yeah.
the box or a puzzle box, which is funny later on.
We're
She's
just
like,
gonna-
it's just a puzzle box. And they're like fucking attacking her. But he buys it and then goes back to this like abandoned house and goes up to the, like, I don't know, separate room. It's not the attic.
He's covered. He's surrounded by candles and does a ritual
Very
of opening the
ritualistic.
box.
It's like satanic, I guess, sort of. I don't know. It's like he's like definitely trying to open a portal somewhere else. And it's like interdimensional travel, which apparently you find out later because they're like moving between some plane they exist on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway,
He's erotically rubbing his thumb over the box's
he
contents.
is. This movie's very like sexually driven. There's a lot of things to do with fetishes and possibly BDSM and sadomasochism and things like that. So if you enjoy that, you maybe you'll enjoy this film a little more than usual.
I mean, when he first opens the box, a bunch of hooks come out and sink into his flesh.
Yep.
And that's basically the last we see of him, other than like Deep Throat putting his face back together later
yeah, it
on in
is
that
her,
scene.
huh?
Yeah, it's Deep Throat. She puts his face back together. They also have like the spinning blocks.
That's one of my favorite effects in the movie. The spinning block with just a bunch of hooks on it and pieces of flesh and eyes
Yeah,
and ears.
it's like
you
their
can't even
trophies or
concern.
something. Like this is
Yeah.
all the people they've tortured, just bits and pieces of them.
Or they're just pieces of him.
That's true. It could be pieces of just him because he's been tortured who knows how long while he's there.
That's the thing. I think like geography has not geography, but like is it geology? No. What the study of shapes? I'm trying to remember when you're just like really into shapes. I just really like that it's a 3-dimensional just figure of
Geometry?
Geometry.
Geometrist? Is that a thing? Is
Some
geometrist?
sacred geometry.
Sacred geometry.
I like the sacred geometry of like the box itself, as well as
It's true.
relating to the rectangle fucking pillars that spin with hooks. I really like that. And
Oh, I didn't even think
it's
about
very
that.
prevalent within satanic rituals as well.
Wait, it is?
Ooh, shit.
Oh yeah, the shapes and all kinds of things. The thing is,
Oh, just because of like the glyphs and things like that?
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the thing is, I think this movie has a lot to do with religion. It just doesn't really like to show it in the light. It likes to like subtly show you some stuff about religion.
I didn't really connect too much of it. Maybe I was just ignoring it, or I just didn't really see the connection. But there is stuff in there.
Like there's a bunch of Catholic priests like praying in this movie all over the house. And
doesn't Frank say he's like brother whatever? He's like, yeah, I'm brother something. Like when he shows up to her front door. So there's a leading lady. I can't remember her name. The mom.
Carol was her name,
so
right?
basically we find out very early on that she's having an affair with her husband's brother, who is Frank.
She had an affair.
Had an affair.
Sorry,
because
she had an affair.
Because they're going to buy a house he lived in, but he disappeared.
Yeah.
And this house is fucked up, man.
Yeah.
It's old, moldy. They like the room that they get murdered in is all like windowed. The windows are like there's paper on it, so you can barely see through. There's nothing in the room besides like one brick wall on the side.
There's maggots and cockroaches in the kitchen, and you can hear them withering and just fucking. It's kind of nasty.
Yeah, and Larry, the husband, is just literally just stoked to fucking buy this house.
Yeah, that to me is like that's some horror movie stuff when people are really excited to buy like a decrepit house and they're like, it's fine, there's no big deal, and they don't do anything
You
to
put
like
some
fix
fucking
it.
paint on this boy, he's gonna be in here for generations.
So they're moving in, and he's like trying to get this mattress up the stairs with these other dudes who are just fucking assholes. They're like the worst. They're hitting on like his wife and like his daughter who comes in. And as they're like taking it up, the husband is like grunting, and she is like having some flashbacks to her sexual encounter with his brother, and it keeps cutting back and forth between the two. So like it immediately starts off with like this aggressive sex scene where Frank is like, "Oh, would you like do anything for me?" And she's like, "Yes, I'd do anything for you," which sets up like weird things that happen later in the film.
Mm-hmm. They also cut to Christy, the daughter of Larry, coming over to the house, and she's refused to live with them.
Yeah,
because she's coming back from moving back to England after being overseas.
Well, she's like a rich kid who doesn't want to like live with her parents or like be provided for. She's like, no, I got it. Like, I'll get my own job. I'll live on my own.
Yeah, exactly.
She suffers from what I call being smart in a horror movie.
Yeah,
I mean, it sort of like gives more validity to the fact that she's like basically a final girl in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she survives the whole ordeal. She's the one who figures out the puzzle box. So like it fits well for her character.
She's also fucking gorgeous.
She is, yeah. So like she doesn't fit the standard of like what you saw in most horror films, which was like a very bimbo character who was blonde, probably had like a specific body type, which was like really big boobs for the time. And then like she wasn't dressed a certain way. So they definitely made her the non-typical, but still a very gorgeous, attractive person. So it's like that is like your main character. So I think they were trying to get at the idea of her being like really virgin-like, which is what they do for the final girl characters.
Ashley Lawrence is the name of the actor.
Ashley Lawrence.
Whew.
Was she like most well known for this film, or like was she in anything
She was
else?
in the first 7 of these movies.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
This is what she's known for. I looked on her Twitter the other day, and it says well known from Hellraiser.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, pretty much. This is
In
what
her
she
bio.
does.
She's similar then to who's the main character in Candyman? The guy, what's his name?
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd.
Yeah,
there you
he's
go.
he's probably most well known for Candyman.
And the funniest thing is the actors. I cannot remember the actor who plays Pinhead. The actor that plays Pinhead and the guy.
Yeah.
And Tony Todd also got a lot of fan mail from women who were just enamored with both.
They
of
probably
them.
got some fan mail for some dudes too.
Oh, I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
I
they're
really
probably
would
like
not be surprised.
they were just getting all sorts of like sexy fan mail, like please hang out with me.
Yeah, please come hang out with me. Talk to me in your voice.
I think it has a lot to do with their voice.
Yeah,
because they have very deep voices that are powerful and boisterous.
Yeah, and they really like. Whew. That's it. That's all I got to say about that.
I felt it. I know why.
Yeah, you know why. I know. Yeah, we all know why now. We know why.
I'll talk more about Tony Todd. He's a beautiful man.
Yo, he had like that super deep, and then his voice was like that omnipresent voice that was like all over. It was like enhanced too, so it wasn't just like a regular voice that you were hearing. It was almost like when you're like imagining what someone's voice might sound like and you have like a memory of it. That's what it sounded like to me. Where you're like recalling something.
Or like you're hearing a fucking saying from like deity or higher being.
Yep, right. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely did. They both did a very good job of playing the roles that they did.
So as Larry is bringing up this mattress with these two fucking dickheads
who ask for beer while they're on the job.
You got beer?
He's like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's in the fridge. And then his wife stares at him and he's like, oh, I guess I'll go get it.
That was a great scene because she's like, I'm not getting you fucking beer. And goes upstairs and he's like, all right, well, I'm going to go get the beer.
She just hands him like regular old Budweiser. And knowing those dickheads, like Budweiser fucking sucks.
Great product placement for Budweiser.
Fucking hate that beer. Trash. Sorry if you drink Budweiser. I just don't like it.
No, it's trash. It's fine.
Okay. But anyways, there's a nail hanging off one of the walls, and Larry scrapes his hand super hard on the thing and starts bleeding profusely. His wife checks it out. She's
like annoyed because he's like about to faint. He's like, I don't like the sight of blood. Oh, it's like I'm gonna faint like right now. And she's like, you're fine. Like we're gonna go to the hospital. But a lot of blood drops onto the floorboards and sinks in, and this is what brings Frank back to life. It looks like it's just a heart at first, like beating underneath the floorboards.
Well, that's what you hear initially.
Oh, that's right. They keep playing it while it goes back into that room. You'll hear the heartbeat. And so it's supposed to be like his transition into like coming back into, I don't know, this dimension.
His resurrection.
Yeah, there you go. Jesus.
They have a bunch of like Jesus references and whatnot in it, and he resurrects inside the room because of the blood. And the effects for the blood soaking into the ground were really well done, and we had trouble even figuring out how.
The only thing I could think of is they made the surface like smooth so that it would just go into like one of the little crevices. Maybe they had something underneath like sucking in whatever was landing on it or something.
We could probably look it up, but my initial theory is it's like a chemical compound that could like evaporate really quick, like acetone or lacquered thinner, mixed with like food coloring and other shit to make it look like blood.
But this is like the start of probably what was like the best like practical effects that they had for the film, which was like his body like rebuilding itself from like goop, like in blood and bone and like the brain coming together. That was pretty crazy. If you watch anything from this film, go watch this part.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of The Thing.
Yeah.
From 1983 by John Carpenter, with all the goop and all the gore, and just you see nerves being remade into a brain, and then that brain into the skeleton, and it's very chilling.
But it was like really well done. I think that's the most impressive thing about the whole film itself, just because I felt like the story was really small and contained. There wasn't like a whole lot of extras. Their whole cast was probably like 10 people, maybe even less, because they just had that dinner party, and that was kind of like the most characters you see. Other than that, it's just the husband, the wife, Frank, who's like the creepiest fucking dude. Who like
come to daddy.
Yeah, he like, oh god, he says it twice. He says it to the mom and the daughter.
I also forgot about this, but he is super very persistent. Sorry, with his fucking switchblade knife.
Yeah, he keeps coming at people, and they do like a close-up shot of the knife every time. Like just him holding it, like opening it, and then walking towards them very slowly. You know what? I just thought of it right now. It could have just been like a phallic symbol.
I was just now thinking that,
Yeah, definitely fits in with that, where it's just like, yep, that's like his penis, and he's trying to like force it onto people, because that's usually the analogy that they'll use for those.
So he gets to be zombie Frank.
Yeah, which is really, I liked it. It was impressive for how they did the makeup on his face, where it's like just sort of bone and like a little bit of flesh at first, and with each like killing, he gets a little more.
Yeah. you see more flesh being added every kill.
They just don't show how he does it. Like
right.
they sort of just allude to the fact that he's like absorbing whatever they've got, and then it leaves like a withered body afterwards that she like stuffs in a closet.
Yeah, the wife, she comes in and he's like, "It's me, it's Frank.
Yeah,
come to daddy."
He says that while he's all gooey.
And he's like, "I need more blood. I guess your husband's blood helped me out."
Yeah, he figures it out pretty quick.
If that's enough to do it, imagine what a whole body could do.
Yeah, and so he then like convinces her to go and start murdering these guys and bringing them back, like luring them with sex and then killing them in this top room so that he can consume them.
Her weapon of choice is a
hammer,
pretty meaty hammer.
Yeah,
but let's see. So she
makes for a messy ass kill. She gets like blood all over herself the first time.
She goes to an airport acting like a single woman. You're drinking alone. Yes.
In a fucking airport.
I'm drinking alone too.
That sounds so inconvenient, like getting out of the airport.
Perhaps we could drink together. I agree though. Being single at an airport and like going through all that hassle just so you could find another single man. But I mean, it worked.
It worked, and these dudes were kind of assholes, so you really didn't care that they were getting murdered.
You want to talk about the dipshit that got fucking that was trying to be rapey?
Yeah, well, I mean, they were like all sort of rapey, but the first dude she brings back, she like obviously feels uncomfortable because she doesn't like him, or she's just luring him to get killed, and he tries to make out with her, and she stops. And then he's like, "You didn't change your mind, did you?" Like, it's really mad. And then she was like, "No, like, let's go upstairs." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, sorry. And he like keeps saying it like he realizes what he just did. And then he goes up there, and then he's like, "What? There's like no bed in here." And she was like, "I've always preferred the floor." And he was like, "Oh, that's chill. It's the first time for everything." Takes off his pants.
Here, you take your coat off too. Okay.
That's great because he tries to leave to go pee. He's like, "Oh, wait, 1 sec." And like tries to leave, and then she just bashes his head in with a hammer. And it's just fucking blood everywhere. She like hits the back of his head, and then he turns around, and then she just smashes his face up. Like there's like a shot of his like mouth getting just
wide
wrecked.
Open. I just realized that Frank, as he's as dumb and as it looks, when he puts on the fancy clothes, it's from these men.
Yes, he's wearing their clothes afterwards. He like strips
after he
them.
Sucks their life force out, he gets more flesh and he gets more comfortable getting his
all of his feeling and senses back.
I love that his feet squish when he walks across.
Yeah, it's this gross squishy
when
sound.
he walks, they squish from all the muscle and
they
all the
must
bone
have had
everything.
Foley artists for this movie.
Oh yeah, hella.
Yeah, to add in all those effects.
I mean, film knowledge. Most sound you hear in movies is Foley.
Yes.
Majority of it is Foley.
They can't get a lot of those noises naturally. It's why, like, if you watch enough of those movies, the noises will sound familiar. Mm-hmm. Like the door creaking open in Candyman, like when they go to the to look at the apartment where they were murdered. That sound is like every creaking door ever in any movie.
Oh wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, I've heard that so many times. I was like, yeah, that's got to be some Foley artists.
I know that sound clip.
Right? Yeah, exactly. You start editing enough shit, you're like, yeah, that sounds about right. But so she gets that first kill, and this scene is, I think, kind of a standout because she does a really good job of face acting and like really expressing how crazed she gets after murdering someone, all the anxiety because she doesn't know what to do with all the blood.
And her husband just got home.
He gets home like right after she kills someone.
And she just like tiptoes with a corpse over to the other room to put it in a closet.
I couldn't understand how she was able to do that. Like, she just picked up this dead, withered body, stuffed it in a closet, and then went to the bathroom to like clean herself off. And then she just looks so like disheveled whenever she shows up again because her makeup's all fucked. And she like tried to wash herself, but her hair's like still wet. And then she goes back in to talk to Frank, and he's just like, "I want to touch you." And it's like all his gooey hand reaching out. He like immediately goes for her boobs and is like, "All right, let's see. I'm going to reach out." And it's like, it leaves a mark on her, like her dress. So I don't know how nobody notices.
And he does that weird thing with the finger in her lips.
Oh my God. So not only is he like pretty much forcing, he's groping boobs. He's forcing his like finger into her mouth. And then she like grabs it and kind of rubs his finger along her lips, but like it's a bony, fleshy, like gooey finger, and you're just like, oh, you can see it like stuck on her.
This is wrong.
Yeah. It was good though. It made sense for like the kind of creepy character that he is. Like he's literally like a slime ball character.
Yeah, he's super slimy, and there's like she finds that tin with all the Polaroids of the two of them, or of him and a bunch of other women.
Those photos are hilarious to me because somebody took those photos. Like, it wasn't like he took them. It's like it's a far away picture, so somebody's just standing there with a Polaroid taking pictures of them.
There are no selfies in like '87.
Nope. I mean, both of the movies are like pre-internet. Like a lot of digital stuff. Most of the stuff they use is analog, like all of the recording devices.
Yep. I like that about a lot of the older 90s and 80s movies.
It makes for good like detective stuff. Like it's kind of a closed story every time they go and investigate things. Like no one else is really in on it.
It also requires people going to the library. So.
Yep. Of course, you got to have the scene where you go to the library and you look at those mini, I don't know what they're called, like the slides of old newspapers. Mm-hmm. Where you can still go to libraries and find those. It's kind of nuts. They have the machines like hidden in a corner somewhere, and you just slide it in there, and then it shows you an enhanced image of it, and it's like a negative kind of. And you look at it on a big screen and you like turn it. It's like a little knob you turn, and it'll switch between the slides. So that's what she was doing. She was looking at old. In the Candyman is when they do it. She's looking at old pictures of one of the murders.
Yeah.
So it's like it's cool to see technology like that. It also gives you a certain vibe. Like this is like a noir, kind of like a modern noir, like from the 90s, which is I guess now it's not that new because it's like 20 years ago. But
yeah, exactly. Wasn't the 90s like 10 years ago that I did?
Right, I know. Yeah, well, it's 2019. Fuck.
Get back into the simulation, Mitch.
Anyway, so from this point on, so she's feeding all these men to Frank, growing Frank a new body, essentially.
Yeah.
Later on, the daughter, Christy, spies her bringing one of the men home.
Well, she has a dream first, though.
Oh, yes, she has the dream.
About her father being brutally murdered.
Wait, no, there was the dinner.
The dinner they have.
Oh,
yeah.
You want to talk about that cigarette thing?
Okay, so they're all sitting at the table. His daughter included, and then whatever dude she's dating, and he does this little trick where he's like smoking a cigarette, and he like pulls the cigarette into his mouth, like fully into his mouth, and then like pulls it out and laughs, and then he's like
to smoke it.
He's like hitting on his daughter like at the fucking dinner table.
Yeah, he offers her a drink, and she's like, I'm not gonna drink because I'll be falling on the floors. Yeah. And he's just like, so just lay down then.
It was like the cheesiest line.
Yeah, really.
But like you just like hella hit on this guy's daughter, and he even like looks at him like, dude, like whoa, you can't be saying shit like that.
What the hell is that, dude? Whoa.
Which is really ironic and funny because later on we find out that they're sleeping in different beds. Like they're not even really like sexually active with each other.
No.
So it's just like him like being really extra in that moment.
So she has like a
She's
nightmare.
Taking it slow.
Yeah, exactly. They're taking it slow. Exactly. That's what we get.
I haven't seen like separate beds since like the 50s.
The people smoking indoors in both of these movies is such a prevalent thing, and it was so funny because we don't see that at all anymore.
No, there was a certain
so
like
interesting.
I think it was the late 90s when they stopped doing that because laws wouldn't let them do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm at dinner.
Yeah, fucking middle of the school, like in a classroom.
Yeah, you just light up.
Yeah, in the prison they even gave her a cigarette while she was in the fucking cell.
Right. Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck?
Anymore.
Yeah, what? They don't give a fuck about you when you're in prison. So it's like that was a surprise. But she is white, so
maybe, yeah.
So there's that dinner scene, and then this is also like in between that. The mom is like, I don't feel so well, and like goes upstairs, and then she talks with Frank some more about like what's their plan, and so she's like, okay, I'm gonna like start getting some more dudes for you, and it's so like it's like a fucked up love story because she like wants him to be around, but like you could clearly tell he's just using her.
Just cuts to the second guy.
Yep.
Just like immediately already hit. She's used to the shit by now.
Yeah, she's getting confident in herself and like actually starts enjoying it. Like there's a scene where she kills someone and then goes to have a drink, and then like it like zooms in on her face as she starts to smile. Like really slight smile on her face because she like is enjoying what's happening, and then they kind of transition into when the daughter kind of comes back into the picture, and she encounters it shows her job. She has like this old dude, like he looks homeless, and he walks in and just digs his hand into the crickets and just eats them. And I swear he probably ate some crickets in this scene. Like, this might be real.
Real cricket eating.
We saw the old homeless man when the boyfriend was walking them home so they could, have that.
Yeah, he's just
together.
like spying on them.
Just kind of just following the girl every now and then.
This reminds me of The Craft with the crazy homeless man and
it
the
does.
snake. And just like, you're just like, what does this guy represent?
Yeah, what is this?
I don't know. I really don't know. What does he mean?
I mean, that guy does get run over in The Craft, but it's still like...
I mean, but still, like, but he has like, he's like a recurring thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's a representation of something.
You know what? I feel like this makes people scared of like vagrant people. Well, they're just like, they're probably a demon. Yeah.
Maybe it's like a 90s thing where they were just like, it was like the fear of the homeless was they put it into a movie just because there was like a market for it. Like, oh my God.
Well,
so
I mean, like, this was...
beardy man.
It was common. Like, it was common for a lot of places to have a lot of homeless people because of like different like housing structures going down, or they didn't really have like what's it called, the infrastructure in the cities to like kind of have places, especially like Chicago and Detroit and things like that, where they pretty much had the south side of like Chicago where you couldn't really live in a nice place. I
mean, and in a way, because Clive Barker also wrote the short story for Candyman, that Candyman's based off of, and it had to do with class struggle and whatnot.
Yep.
It's actually not too surprising that he would include a homeless type character.
Oh, totally.
In this movie also, because he's already kind of in that vein. So that's interesting to me, but I mean, I don't really have much to go on to analyze it further.
Yeah.
So they start...
This movie can be very surface level kind of stuff.
Yeah, it really can be.
Wasn't like... Hellraiser wasn't like super in-depth on what people were feeling. It was kind of like a condensed story. And I think it was because it was like sort of originally like not that big. And he might have just expanded it enough to be a screenplay.
We also have to remember this is his first project.
Yeah.
This is his first major thing.
Like feature-length film.
Yeah. So the guy, had a lot riding on his shoulders.
I think he did a good job of like making it real and feasible. Like you could finish something like this, and it's like a fairly small budget in comparison to like how much money other people were getting for films at the time. And to make it like 14 times what he made, like that's really, really well done. And it's probably what like funded whatever other projects he wanted to work on for it, or just handing it off to someone and then moving on to other things. But what happened after she collected enough dudes? The daughter has a dream, right?
Well, no. The girl has a dream, and she fears for her dad's life.
That's right.
And then it begins the scene with Larry when he's trying to have sex with his wife.
Well, yeah. So she's trying to prevent him from going upstairs because Frank is just like losing it in the room because he's getting like cabin fever. And like starts hitting the walls and freaking out. And so he's like, what was that? And goes and starts checking it out. And she's like, no, like don't go upstairs. And like feigns wanting to have sex with him. And so they like get into the room and they're sort of getting into it, but she's very uncomfortable. Like she's not wanting to have sex with him. And fucking Frank walks his way in there, goes into the closet, and then comes out with a rat in his hand and like cuts it up in front of her where only she can see. So like her husband's on top of her trying to have sex with her. And she's like, oh God, no, like don't kill him. But like he takes it as like no, like I don't want to have sex, but it takes him a minute to realize like what's going on.
The thing is, in real time, you're gonna hear that no.
Yeah, like she says it like 8 times, like 8 or 9 times. So it was kind of an awkward scene.
I kind of think in that sense, it was just either bad editing, because like the thing is, you would hear that.
Yeah, or it could have just been done to like increase your anxiety about the situation, like
or maybe it was just in her head. Oh, that too. Maybe?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
In her head, it could also be like playing into the sadomasochism that we're talking about. Sort of like that's maybe a stretch on my in me, but also like think about who Frank is as a person.
Yeah,
he's kind of like that Dom sort of character, even with like the come to daddy sort of bullshit and stuff like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that was an intentional thing.
Well, it's true of like certain sexual encounters that you might have. Your partner at the time might actually say no while you guys are having sex. And instead you have like that safe word to like stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of it being no. Yeah. So like that situation might happen where people are saying no, but they don't actually want you to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like there's such a like a gray area of like what might have happened.
So I feel like we can also chalk it up just to bad editing, bad writing.
Yeah,
probably ideal.
It was just a weird
or really
scenario.
just them trying to portray that she doesn't want him to be killed and that she can't bear it because she says, "I can't bear it if you do this."
She kind of does change her mind a little
quickly. The biggest burn in this fucking movie is when I can't have you kill him. He can't be dead. Oh, lady, Larry was dead many years ago. It's just, damn, dude, you fucking hate your brother, don't you?
Yeah, he fucking hated that guy.
And Larry is such a sweet guy in this movie. He just wants to have a house that he could live in with his family.
Yeah, he really is the innocent here.
He has a very simple, premise.
He's a simple guy.
Whoa. Cain and Abel.
Oh shit! I didn't think about that.
I just now thought
Slays
of that right
his
now.
own brother.
Literally, like, there's kind of that ideal going on here if we want to work with like the Jesus-y thing and then the religious context. So we got that.
Think about the ending of the movie. We'll get to that though.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's trying to stab her. She says no, and then Larry says the thing. Sometimes you're on it and sometimes you're not. Or what does he say? He says,
you're into me, you're not into me.
Yeah.
You're into me, you're not into me.
I just
what do you
don't
want?
understand you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand
says.
what you want. And then he just leaves the room.
Yeah, and like leaves her there, and then Frank comes out again, and then I think he just goes back into the closet.
He's like, "Well, you're gonna need to find me someone else then if we can't kill him."
Yeah, and so that's doesn't really work out though.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's when the daughter comes into play.
Yeah. Then she notices her bringing over the lonely man.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So this is like probably the most innocent victim that they bring in, because it's just some like dude who like even walking upstairs he's really nervous and he's just like, sometimes I get lonely, and you're just like, wow, this is really fucking sad.
Yeah, sorry,
you know
dude.
what I realized, the more victims that she has, the more just like uneasy they are with sex. Like the first one was just trying to fucking get it on.
Yeah.
The second one was like, okay, this is kind of weird. Third one is just like, I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
with this.
gets to the fucking room and he's like, and like looking around because there's nothing in this room.
I love sex on the floor.
That was ridiculous. That guy almost gets away though. The last one.
Yeah, the last one. He does almost get away.
Because he like
takes the hammer,
smacks him with the hammer, and then he turns around and tries to open the door.
And this is the only victim that Frank gets involved with too.
Yeah, he like grabs him.
Yeah, and then just starts like jams his fingers into his neck.
That was
and
so
whatnot.
weird. It showed a cut of it, and it looks like he's just digging his fingers into clay or something, and it just does that like a really close up shot. So he probably just recorded him pushing his hand into something, and then they cut that in and worked it.
And then the daughter walks in on this, right?
Yeah, she's like, that's just when she has her encounter with Frank, and he's just like, oh, like, it's me, like, it's your Uncle Frank, and he's super creepy with her, and then it immediately gets into, like, a really rapey kind of scene where he's just like, oh, like, you've gotten beautiful, and then he says, like, the come to daddy line again.
Come to daddy.
And you're like, ooh. But she figures out really quickly that he cares about the puzzle box and just tosses that shit out the window.
Yeah.
If you want it, go and fucking get it.
Yeah. And then she runs out and grabs it, and sort of that's how she gets the puzzle box.
So she starts playing with it as she's walking home to her boyfriend's house.
Yeah, she kind of gets all like frazzled, and then I'm pretty sure she faints while she's out there, and people like realize this and take her to like a hospital, and she kind of gets kept there. They don't like. I don't know why they did that.
I think that she's crazy, or
Possibly,
that she's been, like,
yeah.
talking in her sleep and stuff like that. So they keep her to watch her, and they don't let her out.
The thing that was weird about it was the doctor was like, "Here's the puzzle box. Maybe it'll jog your memory," and then like leaves it and locks her in. And I'm like, why would he do that? Like, what does he know about the box? So it was just a weird inserting of like he might know something.
Potential for espionage here.
Well, it could be like the Chinese guy who's selling the box in the first place. They like know about it.
Yeah, they know what it does.
Yeah, and so she starts messing around with it and unlocks this like a room or tunnel that opens up, and this is where she encounters that huge, weird like creature from another fucking dimension.
It should be noted that when she plays with the box, it shows pink lights and pink balls of light.
Yeah.
While there the contrast to Frank, it is blue lightning.
It's like blue electricity lightning that looks very frantic.
I didn't really think about this, but it could be because of Pure Heart's
Oh, I see.
or intention.
Well, they mentioned that, like, when Pinhead and all the rest of the Cenobites show up in the hospital, he mentions that they're angels to some people and demons to others. So, like, they can be, like, giving you that pain experience or the pleasure experience, which also ties into, like, their, like, fetishism and the possibly BDSM, but it's, like, it's more of just, like, torture.
Yeah.
I like that gray area though.
Yeah, they really did push
and they
that.
don't explain it.
No, none.
They just kind of hint at it, and it kind of makes you a little bit like, oh shit, what are these guys about? Okay.
Yeah,
They were
exactly.
angels to Frank, in a way, at first.
At first, yeah, he was really trying to get to that, and then they ended up torturing him after that. And they show scenes of his torture at some point. He's like dangling upside down with like
just dump
bits
a bucket
being
of
torn
blood
off.
on him, basically.
They had a lot of blood in this movie.
Yeah.
Like all over. Same with Candyman. There was all over, like all over the walls and shit.
So after she's playing with the box, she finds this creature. After it chases around, she closes the box and gets out of their world.
Yeah, she manages to like run all the way back to the hallway and then
you mean
slide into the
giant
fucking
puppet?
hospital.
Yeah, the giant like suit puppet thing.
Someone must have been like rolling it or like holding it on themselves, and just like someone else is puppeteering like the top and the tail and stuff.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they try to make it the illusion that it's walking on the walls.
Yeah.
But you could definitely see like the shadows of some legs on below.
It was too perfect in the middle. It didn't like move back and forth while it was moving.
Yeah,
So
it's really a silly looking monster.
it made me laugh. I was watching it. I was like, "This is
oh
pretty
my
funny."
God.
It also seemed random because it wasn't anything like the Cenobites.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like their pet or something. I don't know.
Some creature from their dimension.
Yeah.
But this is when you see the Cenobites for the first
Yeah,
time.
you get to see what they actually look like.
Yeah, I mean, you see them a little bit in the beginning, but
Yeah.
you don't you just see Deep Throat putting his face back together, and that's kind of it. But then the rest of them all show up at the same time. So you've got Chatterer like clicking at her, which is always a scene that's made me kind of chilled. Is like his teeth, like just doing that and coming up to her and whatnot.
Deformed
And
Patrick Star.
Oh my God.
Deformed Patrick Star.
Yep. This has one of the like funnier lines in the movie where he's like, "Oh, don't cry." He's like, "It's such a waste of good suffering."
Good shit.
But we were talking about this earlier. It's like they seem like they can be reasoned with.
Yeah, you can make deals with them.
Yeah.
Because she's like, she thinks really quickly and is just like, "Wait, I know where Frank is. Like, he's one of the dudes who escaped from you." And they like don't believe her, but they're like, "All right, like show us. Like we'll go and like see, but we have to hear the confession like from his mouth, like that he did this and like escaped from us."
That makes me think that they just watch over some people who are within the possession of the box, because you don't ever see any eyes around anywhere. You don't see them looking into anything.
Yeah, you know what? There's no shots in this film that they usually do in horror films where it looks like they're watching the main character.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Like from a window or from like a faraway scene. They don't have any shots
or
like
even
that.
from like in the box. Sometimes they have like a clip of
Yeah.
the camera from the box.
Yeah.
Sort of like in like the center of the box, but it's not like a watching you sort of thing, I've noticed.
No.
Yeah, so they show up, she makes the deal with them, and then she heads back to the house because they agreed, they let her go.
Yeah.
I love how the doctor's reaction to her being missing. She was just here. Yeah, now she's not. Well, the door was completely locked, so that's kind of impossible.
And then the nurse is like, "Well, I'll go look for her," and then just leave scene. You don't see her ever again. They probably just like, "All right, just say this line and leave."
Yeah,
like,
goodbye.
That was like her direction, her blocking for the whole scene.
Back at the barnhouse.
They go back to the house and they go back to the murder room.
Yep.
And then that's when she's like, "Okay, I'll bring Frank here."
Yeah.
Sort of idea. And then she goes. I think this is where I think this is like another Frank gives like a full confession basically.
Oh wait! We have to talk about Doppelganger Larry.
Doppelganger Larry.
Yeah, before that happens.
Oh wait! I thought she came home to her father.
Yeah, well, she came home to Frank in her dad's skin.
Yes.
Yes.
And you can tell it's like pulled onto him because the back of his head is like
he's
bloodied
all over, and no one questions it.
Yeah, no one even says anything, which is the most annoying shit. Because I was just like, people would notice this, but whatever. She's convinced that it's her dad until what moment he like says something to her where she's like, wait, what?
I think he says like, I think he talks about like, so Frank is dead. He's like, oh yeah, Frank was dead long ago, sort of idea.
He shows her the body too.
Yeah, he shows her the body and says, that's Frank.
And then that's when she sort of figures it out, where she's like, wait, no, this isn't.
Yeah. He like gets closer to her and does the come to daddy thing, and then she scratches his face.
Yeah.
And then leaves
pulls off like a chunks of skin.
Yeah.
Then you got Claire coming here trying to fucking kill this daughter.
Yeah.
And then there's a struggle with the knife.
Yep, and he stabs her. He stabs the mom.
Claire, yeah.
And then he does not give a fuck about her. He's like, oh, it's nothing personal, baby. And like just drops her dead body and then goes upstairs to look for Christy, who runs into the room.
With the corpse in it.
Yeah.
And then realizes that corpse is her dad.
Yep.
And
Dude,
then
that must be horrifying.
Yeah,
he was
really,
like just skinned. And like the body's even like steaming when she goes up there because it's so fresh.
Yeah, it's just a bloody pulp of like actual skeleton bones and blood. And
well, at this point, like he sort of just explains a little bit what happens, and then all the Cenobites show up and we're like, oh, so you did do it. And then they're like, well, we've come to like collect you, and even tell Christy like this isn't for you to see. And then they like this is when they start hooking him, and like random hooks come from the abyss.
And you have like his body's all stretched out, held onto the hooks.
Yeah, and he like smiles with his
and he's like,
fucked up teeth.
Jesus wept. And then he like gets exploded by the hooks.
Oh yeah,
basically. They just
ripped apart.
So you see
but they don't show it like directly. They show you like a
Yeah,
few
snap.
seconds of it, and then the door closes, and then she runs out thinking she's cool. But then, is it Deep Throat?
Pinhead comes down and says, now it's your turn to come here.
Yeah.
Because the thing is with the Cenobites, when you call upon them with the box, they want to make you a Cenobite as well.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound too bad if you're cool with torture and dying.
Well, they all, the other ones transformed into them, so maybe they were chill with it. Masochistic.
And then she starts using the box to she starts solving bits of the box to send each one back.
And does she do it to Hellraiser first, or to
Pinhead
first?
I think she does it to like Chatterer first. Sends him
that's
back.
right. That's right.
And then she sends Butterball back.
No. She sends Pinhead back after.
Pinhead back, yeah, right after
and
that.
And then the Yonic woman.
Yeah, the Yonic throat.
Oh, by the
woman,
way, that's the opposite of phallic. So phallic is like penis-like.
Yes, I'm going to be using it as often as I possibly can.
And Yonic is like vulva, vagina,
vaginal looking.
Yeah.
And then you got her boyfriend coming in, looking at this decrepit house just falling apart. Everything's shaking and everything's
He
going
was
crazy.
also a very like innocent character where he just kind of showed up, didn't really know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
He even tries to help her solve the box, and she like swats his hand away. Like, no, I got it.
Puzzle box.
That's great because they're like freaking out about it, and then she's like, "It's just a puzzle box," and
that's probably my favorite.
He's
line
like,
of this
"No,
whole
it's
movie.
not."
And you see, what is it? Butterball have some fucking kind of weird hook kind of knife. Is about to drive it into her boyfriend, but gets saved by Deus Machina fucking burning house.
The debris like falls on him because the house is falling apart at that point for some reason.
They finally traverse over the burning house, and then they open the door. And honestly, when I first saw this, I just saw pitch black. I thought they were in the
box.
No, I thought they were in the Cenobite fucking like abyss.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. I was like, oh shit, they're probably at their lair. This is so awesome. Probably transported the whole house. No, it's just a fucking weird dog thing.
It would have been great if it had like a Krampus ending where they were like actually in the box the whole time.
Oh,
you remember that?
Yeah,
when the snow globe.
Yep. I loved that movie.
That was so good. We're gonna do that one soon, but
that's for Christmas, right?
Yeah, we'll try to do it around Christmas time.
Oh, that's a great fucking movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Krampus and Gremlins.
Yes, that'd be a good combo.
Yes, I'm into it.
Because we already did Black Christmas, so
yeah, which is a different. That's no, not worth it.
But yeah, so in Krampus they end up like they think they got away and everything is fine. It's like Christmas morning, and then it zooms out into the snow, and then even further so you realize that they're in a snow globe that Krampus owns and puts on a shelf. And
crazy.
That's the end of the film. They're stuck in it. But they do realize that they're stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's just an awful ending, and I'm like, this is great. I love this is how horror movies should end.
But we'll talk about that when we do that episode, John.
It's so good. I loved it. We saw it in theaters. I was stoked
great
for it.
Oh, yeah, it was so much fun. But
I love you, Adam Scott.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Anyway, so
I thought that's what was happening. I thought they were stuck in the box.
So she sends them all back.
Yeah.
She escapes out of the house.
Yeah.
And then
she tries to destroy the box.
But a homeless cricket-eating man shows up and turns into a bone dragon and then flies away with the box.
Definitely flies into another screenwriter's fucking chair so he can fucking make more movies.
That was like, it looked so out of place. That dragon,
it was so strange.
Bone dragon that looked like it was out of like World of Warcraft or some shit,
dude,
just flew away with the box, and then the box is getting resold at the end.
Yep.
I'm
What's
not
your
gonna
pleasure?
lie. I was very disappointed with the Bone Dragon. I thought we were gonna get some exposition, maybe some you know what, only like certain people could open this and fuck with this, but no.
And then we've got the Hellraiser Warriors or whatever the fuck. I don't know, something cool like that. But no, we just get some bleak, what's your pleasure?
And then the whole cycle, full circle starts again.
I do like the idea of Cenobites, though.
Yeah.
Because they do have a lot more within the sequels.
Yeah, I'd say that the Cenobites were the most interesting bit as well as the special effects. I think most of us agree that this movie wasn't as good as much as it has the classic horror moniker attached to it. It really wasn't as good of a horror movie as we wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's probably because it got hyped up from us just seeing so much Hellraiser shit on the regular.
I mean, that's the thing, but I mean, it was a classic then too, because even the box office proves that people really liked it. So it must have been the special effects and how creepy everyone is, because Frank's super creepy. The Cenobites aren't exactly the loveliest things in the world, and this is like 87, so people are scared of different things.
It's like the age of like slasher films.
Yeah, so exactly. So I mean, since we didn't grow up then, I mean, what are we to know what people were actually afraid of at the time?
That's
and
fair.
Things like that. So,
yeah, because things from like the 50s scare the shit out of people. Like Invasion of the Body
Snatchers. People were afraid of a
Snatchers.
train coming towards them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mentioned that before.
Yeah, exactly. That's a thing.
That's hilarious.
So people and their fears change over time. So that's something that we should really keep in mind when watching these older movies. And maybe decrying them as not as good for the time. Maybe they were good.
Yeah.
I have to say, as a standalone film, I was not. What is the word to say? Hellraiser as a person, or Pinhead, was not like in his monumental role with this first film. I didn't really get that, and I was like, I didn't understand why he is such a big horror icon.
Yeah.
From this single film alone, but the thing is, the sequels could probably go more in depth, and I could probably
strong cult following.
Have a big, better impression of Pinhead as a cultural icon in horror. So, but the thing is, there are a lot of things that I like in this movie. The Cenobites have great designs. The special effects are bloody and nice, and genuinely, I just really like how beautiful the daughter is.
Yeah.
What was her name? Ashley Lawrence.
Yeah,
she kills
it. Yeah, Ashley Lawrence has a great role. She's also just gorgeous. So that's an entirely other thing. She is bae in this movie.
she is a final girl. She survives the whole thing. So
is that the name for people that like women that finally make it throughout
so
the entire
we talked
movie?
about this on a previous episode. For what did we watch? The Final Girls.
Final Girls.
Final Girls, not Final Girl. Final Girls.
Yeah, Final Girls.
There's two different ones.
Yeah, not Final.
Mitch
the Final
accidentally
Girl
watched
is
the wrong
trash. Don't watch it.
Yeah,
but
it was
we won't
Final
talk
Girls
about that.
and what was the other film we paired?
I think
with
it was Black Christmas was the other movie.
Oh,
too,
okay, yeah.
Which also has a Final Girl in it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the quickest definition of it is a slasher horror film where a single female character will survive the movie, usually without having sex and usually on her own wits.
Holy shit! That I'm like thinking off the top of my head. That's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's very hard to do in an 80s slasher film.
I mean, you have also the end. Like, Texas Chainsaw is like that as well.
Yes, she is technically a final girl.
Yep.
Is Halloween like that?
Jamie Lee Curtis's character? Yep. Yeah, she's a final girl.
Also a final girl.
Yep.
We need to have like a fighting game with all the final girls
that'd be great.
in it. You know, like
so cool.
Sigourney Weaver's in it
Yep.
as fucking Ripley.
Yeah.
And then you've got like fucking
She's like a weird technicality because like she dies technically in the movies and then gets cloned.
Whoa. We're not talking about the first Alien. Just Alien, she's the final girl.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Easy.
Yeah.
And she's also like the smartest one among all of
them.
Yeah.
That was great.
You're all fucking idiots. Anyway, but we'll do an episode on Alien because I have to get my jollies off somehow.
Yeah.
So,
overall, what'd you think about Hellraiser?
I probably won't watch it again, but it's worth the watch. It's original. It's like really well done for originality, and that's hard to do in a market that's so saturated with the same shit. And horror is definitely one of the things that like rehashes things all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hence remakes, sequels, things like that.
Yep.
Like Halloween recently like threw out the rest of their sequels and was like, no, this is the new sequel to the original. And it was made by John Carpenter, so like it blended like really well. But like
watch it.
It's so good. It's pretty much the same shit, and like he does the music for it, so like there's no awkward transition between the two. It's really well done. I like the new remake, and they left it open for another one, which they're already filming, so you get to see a third part because Michael Myers is invincible.
Yeah, exactly.
I might have a better appreciation for Hellraiser if I see the sequels, but you never know.
I don't know if I want to watch like 10 films.
That's the thing.
I don't think you need to, because really the only continuity from my knowledge is with the second movie. The second and maybe the third. Those are like the actual continuity. Because in the second, they actually do call back to the first movie in it. Whereas in the third one, I don't believe actually does.
Gotcha. Well, then I think this is a good time to transition into Candyman.
Candyman.
Right.
Candyman.
Candyman. You got to be in a mirror, though. That's the rules.
Fuck. Get out your phone.
Right, yeah.
I want to die.
I want to talk about the intro to this movie because I really love the intro.
Yeah, go for it.
So we begin with based on The Forbidden by Clive Barker. It is the screenplay. And then it begins with a top-down view of cars in Chicago.
Yeah.
It starts off with cars and a great intro by Philip Glass involving an organ, and the organ is fire as fuck. And I believe that Tony Todd had a great quote about it that went something like, Mur, what did he say?
He says it sounds like the motherfucking Phantom hitting those keys.
Yeah.
It was very melodramatic while I was going through. Like, this movie kind of gave me the illusion that it was a stage play. And there's other things that fit in really well with that, like the line from Hamlet, which was sweets to the sweet. And then they like constantly would have this like top-down view of a stage that was at the university.
Yeah, as used as a transition, of course.
Yeah, it was like the transition between acts, which like most films have the 3-act structure.
I believe that even Tony Todd himself said that this was going to be like his Phantom of the Opera.
Did he really? That's awesome.
I think that he did say something like that about it.
He does fit that like tortured character.
Yeah, exactly. So he is. So it's like it was like his Phantom of the Opera movie that he would do.
The Philip Glass soundtrack was made using only 4 instruments.
So it was what? The organ,
the piano, the bells, and a choir.
Oh yeah, because of all the loud voice singing. It's like church-like in some scenes, and then definitely like Phantom of the Opera style. So
we start with this car scene with the melodramatic music, and then it cuts to Chicago being swarmed by bees, and then a close-up of bees
and a quote.
A quote by Tony Todd.
Or a voiceover,
Candyman,
I should say.
Voiceover. What is blood for, but not for shedding? I will use my hook hand to split you from your groin to your gullet. You know what? This fits in even more with the play, because most of the dramatic like irony or tragedies, they started off with the narration at the beginning to like set the scene. And like any Shakespeare play has that. There's like a whole block of text where they tell you like the backstory.
That makes a lot of sense.
Or one single thing. So yeah, as I think about it more, it was designed almost to be like melodramatic stage play that you could do. And like he himself is a very dramatic character when he shows up.
And tragic.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be like a tragic character, which also connects into the like classism that they deal with throughout the film, which we'll get to in just a sec. It starts with the zoom-in shot that John was talking about with the stage as we're introduced to the University of Chicago with our 2 main leads, Helen and Bernadette. Yeah. Helen being played by Virginia Madsen and Bernadette being played by Casey Lemons, who was also in Silence of the Lambs. I knew it. Wait, where in Silence of the Lambs?
She might be the girl in the hole.
I just know she was in Silence.
She the girl in the hole?
I don't
know.
Think so.
I don't remember.
We'll have to check it.
So they're interviewing students for their thesis report because they are grad students.
Yeah, they're grad students.
And they're trying to get their thesis report done, and they're going to be talking about urban legends.
Mm-hmm.
So Helen is talking to a student who is recollecting a story about a woman and a guy in Chicago area who are about to have sex. A babysitter, by the way. Babysitting a baby. Invites her boyfriend over. And greaser fucking Tom Raimi comes in.
Yeah, fucking
Sam Raimi's fucking brother.
His brother.
And you could tell because he looks so much like him.
He really does.
Yeah. Those Raimi brothers.
I love how greasy they made him look. Like his hair is
he's like sipping a fucking bottled brew on the couch. Just like, yeah, I'm going to get puss.
Well, like, I didn't get the whole scene. Like, they, like, somehow ended up in the bathroom and her shirt was off.
It's a teen story, man. It's a teen scare story. So they just have it play out like that, too, where it's really silly.
It's like he got her shirt off and then she, like, playfully ran away from him, like, into the bathroom. And they're like, you know what we should do? Fucking say Candyman to the mirror 5 times.
So they say it 4 times, and then she's like, I got a surprise for you. Hold on. Go downstairs. He's like, all right. So he goes down there, sips his beer, and then she's like, Candyman, and turns off the light and immediately cuts to Tony Todd.
Yep, right behind
raising
her.
his hook, his meaty fucking hook. And you see blood dripping, but it's upside down. That shot was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was. And I guess he did what he said he was going to do in the beginning and just cut from like her groin all the way up to her chest.
Nope.
That's like his style, I guess, which is really like, it was almost like these people were getting violated, like they were getting raped, because he like even grunts, like when he kills that psychiatrist, he's just like grunting, like there's blood spurting everywhere. It's like, it's very, I feel like it was specific in that way, and they wanted you to feel like something terrible was happening.
Assaulted.
Yeah, and so it was like, that was definitely made to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So Bernadette is also interviewing a student. He seems kind of flirty, but it doesn't matter because we're not going to see him and his horrible fucking haircut for the rest of the movie.
It's weird because he's trying to flirt with her, and he's like the ugliest dude you've ever seen in a movie.
And she's just like, freshman. They just keep looking younger.
Yeah, it's great because they're like grad students, so they're like a little older. They're supposed to be probably like late 20s.
Right. So it cuts to Helen going to go see her professor fucking boyfriend, husband, Trevor.
Yes, they are married.
Husband Trevor.
Because she says husband at some point.
Who is doing a lecture on urban legends, and she's kind of pissed.
Yeah, because she had asked him to not do a lesson on that because they're writing their thesis on the same content. But he was like, what am I supposed to do? But this is also where we get introduced to Stacy.
That homewrecker fucking bitch.
Oh my God.
Spicy takes.
Mur.
I mean, the dude's also a piece of shit. So it's like
Trevor's a piece of shit.
They just are a dirty diaper couple.
Very like stereotypical like teacher having sex with one of his students, but like at the college level, so like it's technically legal.
And then on the DL from the wife.
And like, but she picks it up immediately. She's like, "Who is this chick? Like, do you want to tell me about Stacy? Like, why is she hanging out here?" And he even says it. He's like, "Oh, obviously because she's madly in love with me." And then it's like, but he's not kidding.
Yeah.
Like she actually is.
She's
and he's totally
she
like,
pulls up her jeans and she's strutting and looking back at Trevor, and he's just like,
She knew like immediately, and then like just let it go because she was like, whatever. And then you find out more later on in the film.
So he's like, I'm going to go home, and she's figuring out, okay, I need to go type some stuff at the library for my thesis.
Yeah.
And then you get a cut to a very old 90s computer.
Yeah, the thing we mentioned earlier where she gets to look at all the old newspapers, and she was looking specifically for the murder that she had heard of.
The one in Cabrini Green.
Yes.
And
which is a real place.
A maid overhears her, a janitor maid.
They're the janitor, but it was also like a good way to show the classism in the area because everyone who was black was in a like cleaning position or not so good job, or like a really beat like detective, like the black guy that she encounters later in the film.
Yeah, they're just very hardworking, physical working individuals.
Class.
Yep. And then a lady is explaining the Cabrini Green story with Ruthie Jean.
Yeah.
How a hook came out of her bathroom and just mangled her and just killed her from the groin to the gut, split her.
Yeah.
And she's like, but you didn't hear that from me. No.
Yeah, they're all very much believing in Candyman and very much fear him. But she starts looking into Helen, I think is her name.
Yes, Helen.
She starts looking into the story more and finds out that her apartment is designed the same way that those apartments were designed. And so she figures out that behind her medicine cabinet, there's no like a wall in between the other medicine cabinet and the other apartment. So she can yank her medicine cabinet off, push the other one out, and now there's like a hole in the wall to another apartment. So she figures out that this is how Candyman possibly killed someone. He like reached through this opening, and like this sort of sets up what she's gonna look at in the other building later.
How do you feel about that though? I was kind of very uncomfortable with like that kind of vulnerability. Like it takes just a push just to be in someone else's fucking lifestyle.
I feel like there's definitely shit like that happens, like building construction, cutting corners, and just not doing anything like that. But it seemed unlikely to me, like that there would be a hole right there.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like unbelievable in a sense.
I mean, when they go to that house, I mean, it's in Cabrini Green. Cabrini Green is the name of the area, and it was basically like a low income housing setup.
Yeah.
And it's kind of run down and hasn't really been maintained at all by the forces that should be maintaining it, aka the government.
Yeah, and obviously they don't give a fuck about that part of Chicago.
Yeah, no, they don't give a fuck. And so it's just kind of like, yeah, so they go there. It's I mean, Mur actually has some good input actually on that whole bit. Go take it away, Mur.
Gotcha. So a lot of the things that John was talking about with race and classism has to do a part with them going into the apartment of Cabrini Green.
This like bled over into real life.
Bernadette is very skeptical of the area because she knows it's gang run. She's like putting a bunch of pepper spray in her. She has mace, a taser. She's like, you don't need that. We're just college students coming here for a report. Fun fact that there are many gang members on the premises already. And they're like, hey, where you going, mama? What are you doing? Whoa, you look like 5-0. Are you guys cops? You guys cops? And
not actors.
Not actors, actually.
Real gang members like force their way into the movie.
So production had to pay off 5 gangs, according to Tony Todd. 5 gangs all at once, and they used the members of these gangs in some of the scenes. Most notably, the scene where they're going up to the stairs and like, what are you guys doing here?
You look like cops.
You look like cops. Hey, yo, 5-0 is coming up the building. And they were not very happy with the production of this movie because they were coming into their territory with cameras,
Yeah.
So at one point they shot a generator, and then near the last final day of production, they shot a camera truck. And after that, they're just like, all right, this is kind of unsafe. So they ceased production on that. But Cabrini Green was a real building site, and it did get demolished in 2011.
Yep.
And we see this dichotomy of classes within the character of Anne-Marie, but we're going to talk about Helen going up the stairs to the area where she sees sweets for the sweet.
It's spray painted across like 4 different doors, and this is like one of the first jump scares where Anne-Marie like lets her dog loose a little bit and fucking opens the door, and the dog like jumps out to like bite them, and then she like restrains it and then just closes the door and doesn't say anything, like obviously trying to intimidate them to leave the area, but they don't, because they're it's a horror movie and they're gonna go look at what's going on. So they go to the apartment where the woman that they heard about, where she was murdered, and supposedly that he was coming through the wall to like attack somebody, which is really just breaking through the medicine cabinet. So they're like, all right, let's go check out which apartment he came from through there. And they discover the hole there, and she crawls through against her friend's recommendation. She's like, no, like we got to leave. And she's like, I got to get in there and like get photos. So she goes in.
Let it be known, like the atmosphere of this movie is a lot of Tony Todd breathing, as well as just little tiny, just little quips with his mouth. You could barely hear it, but it does add to the tension of these scenes.
You can also feel the tone and setting that they created. It's all very dirty, grimy. Nothing is clean in the city. Like there's like hardly a sanitary area like in any of it, except for maybe Helen's apartment and like the university kind of. But even then, there was something about it, like just the time period, I guess, where everything just looks fucking dirty. It was like the 80s where they always had films like this. Mm-hmm. And especially the rundown area that they go into. But she crawls through And this is cool because she has a Polaroid camera with a flash on it. And this is the only lighting you have besides like just really faint lighting as she walks through the apartment.
Oh, so she's using this light tactic that was also used in a lot of horror movies.
Yes.
Most notably, I wanted to talk about the use in the first Saw movie.
Yeah.
Because it was really good. When Adam goes to use his light in the apartment, can't do it.
Yeah.
And we're going to get that noise right here. So let it be known that this is the sample we are using. Perfect.
Nice. So we're going to use it right there.
That was it. Oh,
yeah,
very
yeah,
cool.
You hear the Polaroid, you see the flash, and it's like a great way of going through the apartment.
It's also used in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that
yeah.
one, too.
They also did that bit where they added in, like, real video of the
shit.
dude, which is, like, the most unsettling shit, where it's like, oh, movie. No, that was the actual dude. Like, there's film of, like, the camera dropping, and it sees him walking in, and you're like, oh, my God. And they actually included that for the film. I have no idea how they secured the rights for that.
Was that the actual footage?
From they put it in the newer one, but yes, it's actual footage of the killer. Yeah, isn't that some shit? They found it on site, and then they requested permission to use it, and I guess whoever like owned it was like, yeah, sure, and they like added that in.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, not the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the newer one that came out in like the 2000s that has real footage of the killer because they never caught him. They don't they never caught any of these people.
Shit.
So he could have like aged and died somewhere, because I think at this point he'd be too old.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leatherface was like, he was never caught. So that was definitely like bringing it to life for some people.
God damn.
So definitely that noise, and it was a cool effect because they use this flashing later in the film. And as she's experiencing all of these weird events, it'll flash and it'll show images that she took. So there's the image of like Candyman's face with like the mouth open, which she actually crawls through. She like crawls through it and like out of the opening of his mouth, which is really nice, like illusion symbology for him just eating her. And like she's like the sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Then she finds on the floor, she finds like some fabric with a bunch of candy in it that has razor blades.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about this. She goes in and out of it. Candyman consumes her.
Yeah.
It makes her go into this rage. Think about it, where she's only thinking about Candyman and the thing about it.
Oh, gotcha.
It consumes her life.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of analogies to, like, eating, consuming, absorbing. Like, it was all included in there. There's also, like, honey and, like, bee-related things to it. And there's some stuff related to that, too. But she takes pictures of everything.
And we find a bunch of candy on the floor with razor blades in them.
Yep. I feel like it was an allusion to like the time period where people thought that was a thing when kids were going trick-or-treating, where they're like, somebody's putting razor blades in apples or in candy, so much so that they set up like areas where you could take your candy to get x-rayed. Like to double check if there was metal in it, but like I feel like you're just radiating your kids candy more than anything else.
Don't
but,
eat
like,
those Tootsie Rolls.
You know, it was the 50s. Like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Nope.
They thought smoking was healthy. Like it's just
it's great for your lungs.
Yeah, propaganda and all that. You know, big tobacco.
Menthol helps your throat.
Yeah, fuck.
Oof.
Yeah. Hopefully, big tobacco doesn't shut us down. Anyway, maybe I'll just cut it out. It's cool.
Yeah, I won't say anything.
So she finally gets out of there. Bernadette's freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
So they're walking back past Anne Marie's apartment.
Well, she comes into the apartment and is like, "What are you guys doing? Like, why are you here?" And like really wants them to leave. But then like she sort of gets friendlier and is like, "Oh, like most people who come up here are like not nice."
Yeah,
especially white people.
They're talking about reporters, people who are scientists, kind of like just politicians, people who have a little bit of power because of their skin. And she's explaining to the woman, Helen, you know, most people aren't like the people in this area aren't like the people downstairs, in reference to the gang members.
Yeah.
You know, some people just want to make a good living. Some people just want to make a good future for what we have. And she's holding her baby Anthony, and just Helen has a moment where she's really, you know, bonding with this little kid. And it's very nice, but at the same time, you could see that Anne Marie is a working class woman. She has her name tag on. She is.
I think she's a nurse, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But she's just trying to make her own. But she does warn Helen about, you know, I heard Ruthie Jean screaming. I called the cops.
Nobody believed her.
Nobody came. I called the cops again. Nobody still came. And you know what that means? That just means Candyman is just he's
killing
a real
people
force.
Without repercussions.
And I don't want to live in a world where my kid has to fear the Candyman.
Yeah. Also, directly opposite of that, when basically someone calls the cops and they show up like immediately for the white woman, and you're just like,
yup.
It was when she meets the fake Candyman.
yeah, right.
Okay.
And like she pretty much calls for help, and then they find the dude.
That's after she meets the child who lives in the community.
So she goes home right after all that stuff, and she's like, "Here, Bernadette, get these pictures mastered, so I could see them." And
then she
goes
gets
to dinner.
She gets attacked. Or wait, is the dinner before?
She goes
the
to
dinner's
dinner.
before.
Dinner's before.
Because she learns of Candyman's past.
That's right.
He's like the son of like an ex, or he's like he used to be a slave, or he was the son of a slave, and then he ends up, copulating. He ends up hooking up with a white lady. The father of white lady does not approve.
Nope.
They get a lynch mob together.
Cut off his hand.
Put a big hook on there, and then cover him in honey and let bees like eat him to death, basically.
I like how the professor who's talking to her, Cabrini Green, Candyman country.
Yeah, he's such a like pretentious
pompous asshole.
Yeah, he's so annoying. But like he does actually like know stuff, and apparently he wrote a paper about him like 10 years ago.
You know what I was hearing like, oh, from the 1800s, I was like, no fucking way. This really like 1800s, like damn. I was thinking it is a little old, but
established urban myth.
It is also a fact that he was a painter.
Oh yeah, that's right. So he was a sought after portrait artist.
Yes.
And that's how he becomes connected with the girl. Mm-hmm. His dad requests that he like paints a portrait of his daughter, and then of course they fall in love with each other, and then the rest of it progresses on. So that's why
they
got connected. Yeah, that's how they get connected.
So Helen gets more film. She goes back to Cabrini Green. She wants to take way more pictures, and she gets them. And then on her way back, she wants to go say hi to Anne-Marie and talk to her, but Anne-Marie's not in right now.
Yeah,
says little Jake. The little kid on the little steps, just chilling.
Who tells her a new story about another Candyman attack on a little boy, which was really graphic because apparently in this attack, the little boy had his penis removed, like
and
cut
thrown
off
in a toilet.
And thrown in a toilet, and then he survived that. He survives this attack.
I hate that I'm laughing, but it sounds like such
so
a kindergarten,
terrible. like kids,
like a kid just being like, he went into the bathroom and then something ripped his dick off.
Yep.
Wasn't the same after that.
That's the thing though. You gotta, everyone who says the story about Candyman, it's relative to their age group.
Yes.
You got the teenagers in college, talking about like the babysitting couple.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the woman who's a hardworking woman talking about Mary Jean.
Yep.
And then you got this little kid talking about a little kid.
Yeah.
So you have their respectable age groups for everyone who has a story about said Candyman.
Yep.
And so that just, the thing is, Candyman manifests and lives off of people's fears. If they are not fearful of him, he does not exist. He dies as a legend.
Yeah. He functions like the same way as, say, like Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street, where like he has to have people believe in him to like kind of continue to have his power. So he functions similarly, although Candyman is more of an analogy for like what was happening to like black people in that time period, like in Chicago.
I really like stories that have power being based off of belief.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because it happens it's like in Salem's Law. It is also present in the Dresden Files as well, both which is not really horror but has horror elements to it, where Salem's Law, you have like crosses only work against vampires if you fully have faith in Christ, basically. If you fully believe in them, that they have power, then they have power. And then in Dresden Files, his pentacle is a representation of the five points of magic, and it only works at warding off the evil vampires and whatnot from him because he fully believes in magic. So it's that sort of idea, and I really like that as well, and it makes for an interesting plot. It's a great device to use.
So Jake is explaining this story She goes into the bathroom. It is covered in feces, sweets for the sweets, with an arrow pointing to the toilet. And she takes pictures, opens the toilet, and it's full of bees.
Yeah.
Bees.
Oh.
Bees. All right.
The bees, not the bees.
Oh my God. I forgot about the Wicker Man.
We had to do it at least once, John. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
That's our one Nick Cage reference, and that's it.
Poor Nick Cage. He did the best he could with that role.
He does the best he can with all the
It
roles.
was like, that was so poorly written. Like, it wasn't even his fault. Like,
I'm gonna have to watch The Wicker Man because I've never seen it.
It's so fucking bad.
I want to watch a bad movie now.
Yeah, I don't.
The best part is when he's in the bear suit.
Wait, did you mean Midsommar?
Oh shit.
Yeah, same shit happens. But
yeah. So then she turns around and it's me. I'm Candyman, bitch. Yeah, is what he says.
Oh, he does say that.
And it's a guy. Just a regular Joe Smuck. With a fucking hook, holding a hook, and his little goons. And she's like, oh, I don't need no trouble. I'm just getting pictures for a report. And the dude just fucking whacks her with it. And it just cuts to her at the police station with a swollen eye.
Yeah, she's obviously been beaten up, and they have caught the dude already.
And it cuts to the line. It cuts to the line with them. State your name.
It's a literal lineup.
State your line. State the line. I'm Candyman, bitch.
And then step back.
Step back. And finally she finds the guy who actually did it, and she prosecutes him.
And at this point, they're very happy to have somebody who will testify against him. And in this case, it's this white woman, so they really care. And then she's very happy afterwards because all sorts of people want to talk to her after this attack. And she's like going to get a book deal, so she's going to get published. So, of course, her and Bernadette, is that her name?
Correct.
They are like giddy about it, like as they're walking to their cars, and she gives her the photos from her camera, which she thought were previously destroyed, but now she can check them out later. They're like little slides that you drop into a projector, and then this is the first time that she meets Candyman, like for real.
Helen.
Yeah, it's like this omnipresent voice that's like all around her, and then it's her response is hilarious because she's like Helen, and she's like yeah. Like yes. And turns around and he's just chilling there at the end of the parking structure and like ends up walking close to her. And what an outfit.
Tony Todd looking like a fucking A1 steak, dog.
He has such a nice fucking coat. He like very strong features.
His first time being introduced is pretty magical.
Yeah.
Like it's a great really creepy situation because he's just sitting there and it's just a silhouette.
Yep.
And then he just walks over to her, and
then it looks like he hypnotizes her. He like there's this ray of light that kind of comes over her eyes, and it's very classic noir. Like they did this in the 50s whenever they wanted to show someone being really vulnerable, and like their eyes sort of glaze over because the lighting is different. And so it's just like it played out really well because you get this idea that he's like convincing people. So this is probably how he got people to do things.
Fun fact about those scenes, real quick. They actually had a hypnotist on set.
Wait. So was he just like off to the side?
Well, here's the thing. What happened was Virginia Madsen was like, I don't know about this hypnotist thing, guys. Like for these shots, do we really have to do it? And they're like, well, just talk to the hypnotist and see how it goes. And knowing fully aware that what was going to happen, she like is talking to this guy for a good 5 minutes. And by the end of the 5 minutes, her right arm is raised all the way up and her hand is at a 90-degree angle. Like very specific things. No. So they're just like, she's like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that. So they're like, do you want to do the scenes like this? And she's like, oh, fuck it, I'll try it. And every scene that you see close up where, you know, Virginia Madsen is looking like she's swooning or looking out into the distance and just like, you know, figuring out what's going on. She's actually getting hypnotized by an actual hypnotist off screen.
That's wild. I mean, it's really realistic. Like you watch it and it does look like she's being hypnotized. The only other time you see it is when she's at the dinner table being told the story about who Candyman originally was. And then later on in the film, it happens one more time.
Yeah, when they're in their very intimate concrete jungle.
Oh, right. Yeah. He like carries her over to a table and like makes out with bees in his mouth. It's all like a weird, crazy ending.
Here's the crazy bit though, is I don't remember the name of the actor who is the woman actor.
Yeah, there's a whole new movement to stop saying actor, actress, and instead just use actor for anyone who's in film.
The woman actor.
What's her name again?
I forget the name of the actor.
Which one?
I almost said actress.
I'm gonna use actor.
Candyman's lover.
Helen.
Helen, the character Helen.
Yeah.
The actor of Helen is allergic to bees.
Yes.
She was allergic to bees in that scene. So that was the craziest bit. So when they're doing the kissing thing, she's putting herself at risk.
She's allergic to bees in real life?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So getting her to do that was pretty tough, but she got out with no stings.
If we're just going to talk about the bee scene, I'll tell you how they did it.
Yeah, how did they do that?
Yeah, how did they do it?
Okay, so they used baby bees for the mouth scene.
Okay.
But they made a plaster in Tony Todd's mouth, kind of like a little, to
stop them from going into, like, his throat.
Yeah, but the thing is, Mitch was telling me that he told the director, every time I get stung, $1,000 added to my pay.
Stung 24 times.
Yep.
So he just banked on that.
Yeah.
He was like, I'll get stung for some extra cash.
He got stung in the mouth, dude. Like, I think that deserves some money at least.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, also, there's the scenes where he's, like, covered in them.
Yeah, so for that, they developed a new queen pheromone to put all over his body. And
so they, like, stick on him?
Yeah, they just wanted to chill on him. And they did the same thing. They had paramedics on site for Virginia Madison if she would ever get stung. She never got stung.
Dang, she got lucky all the way through without any stings.
Yep.
Shit.
But yeah, that's how the bees were made throughout the movie. They were actual bees, and the funny thing is, before anyone gets sued by like PETA or anyone, they had a bee vacuum that they custom made so the bees would safely be stored.
Oh, gotcha.
Put back into an area.
Be stored.
Fuck you, Mitch.
You did it on purpose. Set yourself up for that one.
So let's cut to the apartment.
So she meets Candyman and then somehow gets transported to Anne.
She just blacks
Marie.
out.
Yeah. So I'm guessing she blacks out and gets carried over there. I don't know.
So she blacks out, and we have this idea that like Candyman consumes her, potentially possessing her to do these things. Either that or Candyman is just a figment of her imagination. Yeah. She's just crazy.
She's crazy. She gets obsessed with, like, the myth. She
wakes up in Anne Marie's. Anne Marie is the name of the woman's house they go to.
Who is currently, like, mourning the loss of her child and her dog, which has been fucking decapitated.
Yeah, and there's
crazy.
a big head on the...
She's dog
covered
does
in
not
blood
survive. Sorry.
With the knife.
She checks herself because she thinks that she was gutted alive.
Her shirt is, like, there's blood on her stomach and, like, kind of up her shirt, and you don't have an explanation for where the blood came from. I can only assume that she was possessed and killed the dog, and then he took the baby somewhere else and then left her there to frame her for the murder.
Yeah, and the thing is, she immediately grabs the murder weapon because she thinks Candyman is in the room.
Picks up the cleaver, goes over, and then the mom sees her with the cleaver and is like, "You're the one who did it," and immediately attacks her. And they're, like, wrestling, like, in the living room, and she's telling her, like, stop, and then slashes her arm and gets on top of her. And then as she brings up the cleaver, the 3 cops break it, or, like, 4 or 5 cops break in, and they're like, "Yep, that's it. Caught you red-handed. That's the murder." And then they pull her into jail.
Yep.
And then while she's there, she's trying to explain, but of course nobody listens to her.
I think it's really funny because she's trying to explain to the chief police officer,
who is black,
who was just there. She was just there like a couple days ago getting the Candyman, and now she's like,
he comes in and she even addresses him by first name, and then he's like not having it. He's just like, "No, you need to understand that you're under arrest. Like, do you understand that? Like, do you want somebody here with you?" And it's a great scene because they flip this version of the story that you usually see where there is a person of color, a black person in this spot that nobody wants to believe. But in this case, it's a white woman and nobody's believing her. And so it flips that role reversal and gives you an idea of what it's like to be going through that broken judicial system, especially in Chicago, where like they need somebody for that and they usually would blame people. So you see that play out with her and it becomes suddenly more relatable and important for people who are watching. And then they go through that scene just like that. You also find out that her husband is not answering the phone at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Because he's boning Stacy.
Good God. He comes the next morning, though, and everyone is fucking concerned.
Yeah.
There's like millions of news reporters out there. He puts a coat over her. They don't have a name for her on the TV.
Not just yet.
And they don't have a face. So she got lucky and was able to get to the apartment. So she looks at the slides, right?
Yep.
She looks at the slides.
And discovers that in one of the photos she took at the apartment that she went to visit,
actually had Candyman.
Candyman is right behind her when she takes a photo, and like it zooms in on it very dramatically.
Is that when she goes into the bathroom?
Yeah, and it fucking like bursts through the medicine cabinet, which apparently was unscripted.
Meaty fucking hook coming through.
What a dope move. How controversial yet so brave.
Tony Todd felt so bad. He was he felt like a bad guy after that.
His heart sank after doing that. But
you know what's crazy?
For art.
He apologized at least 100 times, is what Virginia Madsen said. Because she was fucking freaked out. That jump scare is a real jump scare.
Yeah, that
she
fucking scared me too. Shit.
So she's running away from Candyman.
Yeah.
He's coming over.
This is also when Bernadette shows up with some flowers to like make sure her friend's okay.
Is this when he explains that if she kills the myth, then he will no longer be alive? So what does he do? He hooks her in the throat.
Yeah, so she can't like really scream out.
Yep.
And then Bernadette finds her way into the apartment because the door's open. Although I swear to God, she locked that door when she came back in. But anyway.
Well, nope. Remember, Trevor left to go get some extra work, quote unquote.
Yeah. She runs out into the hallway and she sees him and then runs back into the apartment. I'm pretty sure she locked the door, but I gotta check it again.
Oh wait, yeah. So he was in the apartment, then she jumps out, and he's in the fucking hallway walking towards her.
And then she runs back in, and that's when she goes to the kitchen area, and then he like kind of pokes her the back of her neck or something.
Yeah.
And she can't really say anything, and then Bernadette walks in, and then that's when Bernadette gets murdered.
You get that
he like takes over her basically.
Yeah.
And then that's when Bernadette gets axed.
Yep, her character is done for in the movie, which is like, it kind of sucks because she was an interesting character, but like they had to just keep it moving.
And that's the thing. Trevor left the house so he could get a bone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So his wife has just gone through like the most traumatic event, and he's like, "Well, I was supposed to go to the university to like pick up some work.
It'll be back in like 20 minutes.
like 20 minutes." I was like, "Damn, this dude is really about to just leave his wife to go have sex with a really young student." And he does exactly that. Yeah. And he fucking leaves, and then she gets attacked, and then he comes back to the bloody scene, and he has to like call the cops. And so that's when they send her to a psychiatric ward, and she is admitted without her permission, and they're trying to figure out if she can stand trial. And so she speaks to Candyman in her room, who appears like floating above her.
Oh, yes. And it's very intimate because he gets kind of close and puts his hands over.
He asks her to give him a kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Kiss me.
He's like, just kiss me like once and like see how that feels. And she's like, "What the fuck?" And is like freaking out.
No, he's under the bed. Then he slides under the bed.
Yeah, exactly. He like kind of like whoop and like goes to the side and goes under the fucking the bed she's like tied to, and they come in and like sedate her. And then they look at that video later, and he is not in the video.
Yeah, 1 month later, they're taking her to a psychiatric doctor.
Yeah, and this guy's kind of a douche too, so I didn't really care when he got killed.
Did you see him when you got admitted?
Yeah.
She's like, "I don't understand. He was right there. I don't get it." And then you see Candyman just right behind him, fucking gutting this dude with his.
She looks at the mirror.
Oh yeah.
And calls him.
Does she call him?
Yeah, she does the Candyman 5 times first.
I could call him.
No, that's not. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
there's a cat in this room right now.
I thought that I saw Candyman behind you.
Shh. So she calls upon Candyman. He's
getting a little freaked out now.
He's hooking this professor. It's the gruesomest death.
Yeah, he's really going at it.
He's just fucking just going for it.
Very sexual. It was like he was penetrating him or something. It's just like and like ripping from his like lower back to the top.
My favorite scene right after though is when he jumps through the window going straight up. Just
he tucks his arms and legs in and like just backs out of a window.
It's so elegant.
I mean, he also tells her that if you don't come to me, the child dies.
Yeah, so he's
That's one of the other big things.
He's basically like, come like to me, and then the kid will go free, and like it's no problem.
Yeah, because it is established that he is the one who has Anthony.
Yep.
Oh, and it is also established in a previous scene that we didn't talk about. He has honey on one of his fingers and actually feeds it to the baby.
Yep.
Oh,
very weird.
My God. That's, oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I thought that was weird.
So
I was
fucking
like,
strange.
all
You're
right.
just like, okay. He's just like, and the child will be fine.
Yeah.
Well, see, he comes over and he's like looming over the kid with the hook.
Yeah.
And then you just see it go and he has honey on his finger. Just
yeah, it's weird. So that broken window, she crawls out of it and goes into the window next to it, like knocks on it, nurse opens it, and then she fucking beats the shit out of this nurse. And then takes her outfit and then sneaks out. And that's how she's like, okay, I need to go figure out what's going on with this baby, and goes to him.
She goes to Trevor's house.
Oh, that's right. How did I forget about that? She goes to the house, and
1 month later,
discovers Stacy in her house painting the walls a new color. And
bright
she's like,
fucking bubblegum
dude,
pink.
she's like, get out of my house. And then she does the most weird, dramatic response where she like almost faints, and then
she like crumbles like paper.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, man.
And then freaking, what's his name? What's the husband's name?
What are you
Trevor?
crying about?
He's like talking to her in like a baby voice. It's so weird. He comes in and then she's like, oh, what are you doing here? And she goes like, she almost goes crazy like in that moment where she's just like, what did you, like, you knew I wasn't going to be out.
She's like, call them. Hands on the phone and stuff. Like,
call
the authorities.
She tells Stacy to do it, and of course she can't do it. So she's like,
call
yeah,
the fucking cops.
That's what I thought.
You know, just like...
Throws a fucking giant gallon of paint at the wall and just leaves.
Yep, that was great. I love that. She had a crazed look in her eyes. That was good acting for her to transform into that character.
She then goes back to the community again because they're about to have like their big bonfire, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, well, this bonfire is mentioned by the little kid that she got that story from like way earlier. And so they've been gathering like all this stuff to burn. But she goes back to the building to find Candyman, and it's hilarious because he's just sleeping in like whatever area he's in. And she goes up to him and like stabs him, like straight stabs him. And then he wakes up all happy, like, oh, you came. And like yanks whatever she got stabbed with out. There's like blood splurting out of him. And then he's like, oh, it's okay. Like everything's fine. And like he carries her into like this next room, which ties into that scene we talked about earlier with the bees. Mm-hmm. And like, it's weird because he's like, are you afraid of like the pain? Like, are you afraid of death, basically? And she's like, I'm afraid of both. And he's like, it's fine. Like, the pain's going to be exquisite. Like,
we are going to be both legends,
yes.
you and I.
Yeah, he wants her to join his, like, legend of what's going on. And it could be that, like, love story playing out again. Because it's like, it's always been you, Helen. Like, it's always you. So, and then it shows an image of, like, an old-timey...
It's one of the paintings from Candyman. It is his original wife.
Yeah.
Love interest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and he's trying to replace her...
Yeah.
His long lost love with this new like white lady, basically.
Who may be a reincarnation, but we're not sure.
That's the thing. A lot of people say reincarnation. At first, I thought it was ancestor. I just like going to that fucking
like her daughter, or her granddaughter, or something. Like that.
It's like in the movie Holes.
Oh my god!
It's like, your great grandfather, fucking Doctor or like Z was cursed by this fucking person. And I was like, oh, dude, what if like Helen is just a descendant from, Candyman's fucking love interest.
Yeah, I could see that easily being a thing. And then they sort of have this transition moment where I feel like maybe she died. Maybe. But, like, she ends up waking up and... God, how does she like, ends up outside, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has a hook and she hears the baby.
Yeah, that's right.
She has the hook. She's hearing the baby.
He has placed the baby in the middle of the bonfire pile.
Let me say that the bonfire is actual Chicago trash and just a bunch of shit. They structured a cave around it though, or inside of it. But that is actual like desks and bunch of shit that Chicago did not need.
And Candyman brings the baby in there with him. Brings Anthony the baby with him.
He was planning on all three of them burning up in there together to like, I don't know, I guess transition them into like his world.
His family.
Yeah, exactly. He has a full family.
Folklore family.
Yep.
Then we see little Jake through the crack of his wooden door. Like he has a weird wooden door for his fucking thing.
Yeah.
He sees the hook. Candyman's here. It's time. So
yeah, dude, they all go out and they're like, let's burn him.
Yeah,
he's like,
burn
I saw his hook. I saw it.
Yeah, and they all like follow this little kid over there and then they light it all on fire. She abandons Candyman inside of the Inferno and saves the baby.
Stabs him with a flaming like piece of wood.
Yes.
Dude, and the giant like burning fucking thing falls on her. She's getting burned. I was like, oh, this is awful. She can't even.
Yep. She gets scorched when she gets out. All of her hair gets burned off. She gets like all these burns on the back of her neck, her
I believe
back.
she dies from this too.
Yes,
Yeah.
She gives the baby to Anne-Marie, and Anne-Marie looks so happy. And it ends with Candyman burning and a bunch of bees coming out of the fire.
Yeah, on fire. Like it looks like a firework kind of like goes off. And then what's even weirder is that like she kind of dies like a martyr. Like they end up like going to her funeral.
Well, it's very shitty, but Trevor brings Stacy to the funeral.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Oh my god, that's right. Jesus.
Just like, jeez. I mean,
actual trash. We're looking at actual trash here at the funeral.
Yeah, that giant heap of trash, that's nothing compared to Trevor.
Yeah, holy shit. And
it's the old professor that did the report, Stacy and Trevor, but they're like, the fuck is that? And they see all of Cabrini Green coming for this woman's funeral. Jake takes Candyman's hook and drops it in her grave.
Yeah, which I guess could be like that's how she sort of came back.
That's how she has the hook.
Yeah, she gets reborn into folklore again.
Yeah, and is taking the place of like Candyman. And it's such a good ending. I love the ending of this movie.
Trevor is in the bathroom, just kind of sitting on the toilet, like, wow, my wife is actually
mourning
dead.
the loss of Helen.
He's like guilty over it.
Very guilty.
Yeah, and so Helen
accidentally says her name 5 times because he's just like
Stacy is like trying to cook up a steak, but she's super
so
pissed
annoying.
off.
She's like mad.
She's just dumb and doesn't know how to cook, dude.
Yeah. Something like that. Obviously, we hate this character.
Yes,
and so
we hate her.
she like is trying to get his attention while he's in the bathroom, and then Helen appears with the hook. She's like holding on to it and just rips this dude from groin all the way up to his chest and drops him into the tub. And then Stacy goes into the bathroom to find him dead and just does like the classic horror movie scream,
holding the knife that she was using to cut steak.
Yep.
So
now they're gonna
cycle
assume
starts again.
Yep. Yeah, she's gonna get framed for murder.
And then after that, the mural that Candyman had painted changes into Helen with like flaming hair and
as
whatnot.
like an angel or something.
Yeah, as like the new Candyman.
And there's a
basically.
giant rip on the left side of it from the hook.
Yep. And it zooms in, and then it just cuts, and that's the end of it.
I like the passing of the torch.
Yeah, she got brought into that folklore, and also like it was sort of like a symbolism of her understanding like the situation that everyone's going through, and then becoming that martyr character herself, and bringing the like folklore even more into like something that was real for all of them, and so it worked out well.
I really enjoyed Candyman as a horror movie, and just as a movie in general. It tackled like social issues very well without being incredibly preachy about it.
Yeah,
it just has them there, and you can take them very much at face value, and it plays into the narrative really well. So it does a good job of discussing that. It does a good job at discussing like psychosis and how people like deal with it. How our system deals with it.
Schizophrenia.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, I'm definitely like starting to believe more that she was just a little crazy, and that she started getting really obsessed with the urban legends and was like really believing in it. So she just becomes crazy herself.
Yeah. That's what makes the movie so brilliant, is because you can interpret it so many different ways if you want to. Is it real? Is it not real?
It's an
is Stacey
unreliable
actually just
narrative
nuts now?
Yeah, exactly. and then like in some ways people cared about it more because it was a white character, and to like reach out to different parts of like the audience that were watching this sort of became something different. It wasn't just like a random character that something happens like this too.
Yeah, I think it does tackle a lot of issues, a lot of social issues, and a lot of cues, and I really like the whole urban legend thing about it. I will say that Virginia Madsen and Tony Todd, they both say that it is one of their favorite roles that they've ever done in their entire life. Tony Todd saying that he will get Candyman as one of his like the 3rd or 4th line on his obituary.
Yeah.
But
Also, there's a new version of Candyman. I think they said a sequel, not a remake.
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele's going to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, actually. It's
and
gonna be really
he's
good.
like the perfect person to do it right now after doing Get Out and Us. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Even in reference to that article, before Get Out and Us, there was Candyman. And that's just to show you how far we've gone with a lot of race issues within horror media.
Oh, totally. He's making like a new genre of horror for that. So it'll be really, really good. But any final thoughts on Candyman?
I love this movie, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it's definitely something you can rewatch because you might have missed something the first time.
A lot of different interpretations. It has a lot. It just has some great special effects in it.
Yeah.
You really have to give the actors a lot of credit for putting up with a lot of bullshit while making it as well. So, I mean, even the film crew for putting up with it now that we've learned so much about it tonight.
Yep, dealing with all the gangs.
I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about it, John?
Definitely go watch it, and it's something that has a lot of underlying things. It's not something that's right at the surface. So it's related to social issues, to classism, in some cases to like colorism between like the Black community and the separation of like the working class and like people who are a little richer or like college educated. So it's like Bernadette was like the college educated Black woman, while Anne Marie was the not college educated but also working class. So it's like you got to see that dynamic play out in the middle of the movie and the film, and then sort of like what happens when white people go into certain situations and try to be like a quote unquote like savior of the things without. So she starts like that and then transitions into being like a martyr for the community. So there's just a lot of good stuff to like interpret, a lot of good articles that people have written. People have done like thesis statements on this film.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. Is there any other final thoughts?
I really liked this movie a lot. It has a lot of stuff to dig in, and if you take the time, you will get a lot out of it. So do that.
I would like to mention before we do John's, a typical final thoughts. Me and Mur are both doing side single episodes where we talk about topics that we don't always have time to cover on the podcast. I'm going to be doing horror in video games with Mitch, so I'll be playing games and doing reviews of them. I have my review of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice coming up. And then Mur's going to be doing
Monsters with Mur, which I will be watching monster movies and kaiju films.
Yep. And then I will continue doing the segment that I'm doing, which is a little more afterthoughts of something that I may have missed the first time around in the podcast. So it will be related to Candyman and to Hellraiser. And so that'll definitely be segments that we'll include in between episodes and whatnot. And so before I let everybody go, I just want to remind everyone we're really easy to find on all of the social media sites and the streaming sites. We're on all the main ones, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music or Google Podcasts, as well as iHeartRadio and SoundCloud. And we are now on CastBox and Stitcher. So any of the like third-party apps, you can go and search us up. You just got to look for Bringing Down the Grindhouse, or go on the social media and look for BDTGH. And you'll be able to find, or BDTGH _podcast. And you'll be able to find all the social media. Leave us comments, any questions, discuss things, tell us we missed something, or maybe we got a fact wrong. You can let us know. And we love getting the reviews and the emails. If you can go and leave a review on the Apple Podcast, that one is probably the most important one. So like, leave us some reviews, let us know how we're doing, and we really appreciate that. And that's pretty much it, I think. Thank you guys for coming out to do this podcast with me. And I hope everybody has a good night.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Mur.
And I'm Jonathan. Thank you.
Good night.